So wanted to just take a moment to acknowledge the people who make all of these things possible. So Elsa, Gerald, Jazz, and Jordan. Where's Jordan? Jordan is hiding somewhere, probably practicing his singing skills. But they are the individuals who made this program, this white paper, our speaker invites, the registration, all possible. And if it weren't for them, this would not have happened. And many, many times I often forget to recognize them and actually say thank you for all that you do. So thank you, Elsa and Gerald and Jazz and Jordan. Jordan, who is the author of this white paper. Somebody asked me, it's like, why is it white paper? Why is it not brown paper or yellow paper? I don't think there's anything kind of like racial about the white paper, right? I mean, if you recall your college days or kind of like your master's days, you were asked to write either a scientific paper, right, or a white paper. And when Kurt asked us, "Can you do a playbook?" I said, I don't know that a playbook sounds like credible, right? So let's do the academic route and let's actually put together a white paper. So nothing racial about this at all. We just wanted to make it sound really more academic. So Jordan and Jazz and Armel, who really put in a lot of hours to put this together, thank you very much. So I know that Amy, you're going to be next.
Yes.
So Miss Amy Kong, 2021 President. Okay, everybody got a chair to sit on? Kurt, do you have a seat?
Yes, I have.
All right, okay. Good morning, everyone. Ontario. Woo, AREAA is here in Ontario, exciting. So my name is Amy Kong. As Hope introduced, I'm the 2021 Lockdown President of AREAA National. You see everybody here without a mask. Isn't that exciting? Yoo-hoo, all right. So I know that today is like a big topic, right? Housing Affordability Symposium. Sounded like a very heavy topic. But at the same time, we wanted to have fun and be creative, right? So today I'm very, very excited to have a panel of, how should I describe it? Experts in their own area to really talk about what they are doing, and at the end of the day, what we can collaborate and do better, right? But before we start this panel, there is something I wanted to say. It's like, thank you so much to Kurt Nishimura, our current president, his vision about bringing this important topic in light. With the full support of AREAA National for sure, because he's our president. What can we say no to him, right? So, and then at the same time, I guess, I also wanted to acknowledge a lot of the AREAA local leaders and national leaders here in the room. Would you please stand up and be recognized? I know that a lot of people drive 45 minutes, an hour, or even fly in. Can you stand up? Quickly, we don't have too much time, please. Local, national. Is that it? Don't be humble. Okay, I'm gonna point somebody's name because he did not stand up. Right? Okay, I'm not gonna make you look good, look bad. But I mean, when you look around the room, everybody here get up so early in the morning to come here with one purpose and one passion, because in AREAA, we care about homeownership opportunity. Isn't that true? Yes. And all the supporters here are here to help us and make this dream come true. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, all right, sounded so sleepy. So everybody get your coffee? Everybody get your coffee?
Yeah.
Everybody done with restroom? everybody silent your cell phone. And everybody put out a pen or notebook because there's a lot of information out of this panel. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, now, I'm asking all of you to do one thing. Is that have fun. Don't be boring. If our panelist is saying something that you are like, oh yes, do it, say it. Would you please make this a fun and interactive section, okay? Now, I'm going into some interesting data. I'm not an economist, but I just find some data. Second quarter of 2023, San Antonio, Dallas, Orlando have the most constrained housing supply because of the increase of the labor market. Versus St. Louis, Detroit, Miami has the highest housing supply for some reason, okay? Now, here we talk about California, ranked 49 among 50 states for housing units per capita. California is short about 2 million units with the increase of population, that's what they said. I'm not 100% sure about that, but we're in shortage for sure. California needs to build another 3.5 million homes by 2025. Certainly, with the first session that you have heard, with all the data and everything, you know that housing shortage is an absolute, undeniable fact, correct? Thank you for the feedback. I love it. Of course, there are many different issues, right? We talked about a lot of issues like density issue, like high land costs, community involvement in permitting process, etc. Like, after pandemic, the high construction costs as well, right? Labor shortage, etc. But we wanted to find out what are the solutions? What are the possibilities? Think out of the box. So today I have a very special group of panelists from all different backgrounds. So I wanted you guys to really think about understanding what they are doing to contribute to this housing shortage issue. Okay, number one. Number two, I want you guys to understand how they will be possibly work together to make a difference. Number three, most importantly, I want you to think is like what we can learn and duplicate it in your own region. Okay? So there are homework, not just sit there and say yes, 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 right? Yes, most of the time I agree with panelists, okay, when I'm moderating, but sometimes I might say no. So be careful, pay attention. All right. Okay, so because we have 4 people, very important, let's see, I will introduce you guys one by one, and then afterwards, each one of them will give a presentation, maybe like 5-10 minutes, to tell you what they do and who they are, right? So, Jennifer, Hiramoto, sounds like a Japanese, are you part of Japanese?
It's a long story. I guess I can clear the air now.
Okay, no.
Okay, I'll wait. I don't want to make it boring.
Jennifer actually returned to the city of Ontario after 5 years working for the city of Glendale, okay, where she has served as the acting assistant director of community development. Okay, in that capacity, she was responsible for overseeing the administration function of the community development department, as well as leading the economic development division. Jennifer actually joins the team with 11 years in economic development experience and 5 years in private sector as a newspaper reporter. Ooh. And she specialized in developing and implementing collective economic development and public relationship strategies, and was integral to leading the city of Glendale's COVID-19 business recovery effort. That's huge. As well as developing an ecosystem of technology and innovation. Jennifer earns a Master of Public Administration from the University of Southern California in 2011 and obtained her bachelor's degree from San Jose State University. Yes, the Bay Area! Jennifer. All right, yeah. The second gentleman sitting here, his name is Sorry, I have a lot of bio to read. Bear with me. Okay, so that's Vamsi, right? All right, so Vamsi was born and raised in India to a large construction family. After attending USC's grad school for computer science and receiving his MBA from Loyola Marymount University, he began his serial entrepreneur journey by running various businesses: an international travel agency, a medical tourism provider, an e-commerce retailer, a restaurant, and a residential construction company. So how many businesses did he run? Thank you, somebody. All right. At the beginning of 2022, Vamsi actually founded AREAA Homes, a company rooted in sustainability and affordability by creating sustainable smart homes on demand. Okay? What started as a response to his own difficulties buying a home and fear of the state of the planet his children were growing up on, has quickly turned into a full-time job and passion project. Since starting, the remote team has grown by over 400% with overwhelming investor and federal government interest in their initiatives. So in June 2023, which is how many months ago? Dun dun. 3 months ago. You guys falling asleep. Vamsi's leadership on remote homes proudly showcased a home model at HUD Innovative Housing Showcase on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. Adding to their accolades, by August 2023, when was that?
2023.
August, last month. Remote Homes was chosen to an esteemed awardee for the California Energy Commission grant aimed at advanced prefabricated zero carbon homes. Zero carbon homes. Okay? Good job. Thank you. I'm so excited. These people's achievements are like tremendous. Okay. Number 3, I have a handsome man called Bob Monton. All right, okay. So Bob actually is the vice president and managing director and also a land acquisition guy. All right, so Bob joined Lewis in 1990 as land acquisition manager in the Sacramento office. In 1996, Bob relocated to Southern California office to lead the Southern California land acquisition. Over the past 33 years, Bob has worked in all facets of land acquisition, including forward planning, site selection, negotiation, due diligence, transaction management, financial analyst, and entitlement process for all business segments, including industrial, commercial, and residential acquisition. Bob, you're all-purpose man. Bob's also play a lead role in complex transaction and formation of partnership. Prior to joining the Lewis, Bob was a commercial real estate broker with the Vintage Company in Napa, California. Bob also earned a Bachelor of Science degree in agriculture from Oregon State University. Thank you so much for joining us today. All right. So the last one, not the least, is Jesse.
Yeah.
How are you?
Doing well.
You're not too bored yet, right?
No.
Okay, perfect. Okay, his bio is the shortest. So he's the Chief Business Officer, which is great, right? And he has joined Neighborhood
They must have kept
Partnership
that.
Housing Services, NPHS,
That is correct.
right? To help the organization continue its mission of helping underserved communities, I like you, thrive and grow. He leads an amazing team whose mission is to build equitable communities by creating innovative housing and economic solutions that advance the well-being of people, vitality of neighborhoods, creation of jobs, and sustainability of environment. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together to do what? Welcome this group. So now I'm turning the mic to each one of you. You have 5 to 10 minutes to do a little presentation, and I'll sit there and shut my mouth.
Well, thank you, Amy. Now that you've outed me and let everybody know I'm not actually Asian, my husband, I told him, who who his name is Japanese. He's Chinese. There's a whole backstory, like I said. But I let him know. I said, hey, I'm going to be speaking on this event, at the AREAA event. He said, do they know? And I said, do they know what? He said, do they know you are not Asian? I said, yes, covered it, it's okay. And while we're just clearing the air, I also want you to know I am not a housing expert at all. We have a team in the city for that. I'm the Executive Director of Economic Development. We are very much committed, though, to improving the City of Ontario. And we'll talk about how we're doing that, and of course, housing is a key part of it. Congresswoman Torres mentioned today that Ontario is aggressive in developing housing, and I couldn't agree more. There is so much that we are doing throughout the city, and it is such an exciting time to be here. Next slide, please. So our mission in economic development is to promote investment and prosperity for residents and businesses, and we are doing this in a ton of locations throughout Ontario. Oh, thank you. Oh, excellent. I love control. And you heard from our mayor today, the city council specifically is taking actions from everywhere, like the convention center. We have plans to expand it right now, to our efforts along Holt Boulevard, where we're currently working on transit-oriented development with the SBCTA. They're working on a center-running bus line. We have downtown redevelopment. I'm curious, how many of you are from the Inland Empire? Show of hands. Okay. San Gabriel Valley, the greater LA County, Orange County, and where is everyone else from?
Chicago.
San Francisco. Okay, you know a thing or two about lack of affordable housing. So if you haven't seen our downtown, we're also making strides there where the city has begun to acquire property there, where government is intervening because frankly the private market isn't doing it fast enough. We also have the AREAA district where we're working on building out nearly 700 units around our entertainment zone. And then we have Ontario Ranch, and I think Bob is going to talk a little bit about some of the efforts in Ontario Ranch. And this includes building out a new regional sports complex and a ton of housing. So that's just a snapshot of some of the things that we're working on. One of the things that we're very committed to is just like our community, we are building a diverse housing stock. And just as a side note on the diversity, 27% of our community here, if they were born outside of the US, we're a largely Hispanic community. We have a growing Asian population. In fact, Ontario Ranch is a big part of why I think that is showing a shift. So you've heard some of these topics today. I think I skipped over one of them. On our Ontario housing market. So by nature, Ontario is already more affordable when you stack it up to other communities across California. Ontario's median household income or median sale price is $619,000. You compare that, you guys know your business better than I do, but you know what the rates are all around the California. And you can see that we are building. I mean, we are building a ton of new units. Last year, we issued 1,700 residential permits. If you compare that to some of the things that you see like in LA County, it is difficult, and I'm very proud to be a part of this community. I've talked about Ontario Ranch. Are you familiar at all? Anybody? Okay, some nods, some hands. Ontario Ranch right now, when you drive through it, it's a trip. It is largely dairy farms still. Like you know, you go from here, you drive out there, you see cows, you see goats, you wonder, where am I? This is about 8,600 developable acres. At total build out, it will have 60,000 new residential units. These are a mixture of single family homes to higher density. We also have the industrial parks. The world's largest Amazon facility is now there, 4.1 million square feet. It's about four stories. It's amazing. But we also are about balance. We're building out a new 340 acre park in addition to the regional sports complex, which the mayor very slyly mentioned a minor league baseball team. We are cooking that up too. So as far as some of the market rate housing, so if you were to drive around Ontario, it really is, it's a diverse portfolio of housing. And I'm not going to steal Bob's thunder because Lewis Homes is really, they are a big part of our narrative. But we have just an example of some city participation. So this is a slide of 221 North Mountain. This is downtown. This was over a 2-acre parcel that the city owned. We came up with a development agreement with the developer, and this will be 65 market rate housing units. We also have another example. This is GH Palmer, right off the 10 freeway. They're almost done. This is the second phase. It's 925 units. This is a completely a private market deal, but they're building it and they're filling them up. And it's exciting, again, to see the diversity. We also have affordable housing developments too. And this is what our housing team at the city works on. We're currently in the second phase of building Emporia Phase 2, so this is about 50 additional units. This is the second phase, it's in downtown, and they're beautiful. We also have Vista Verde Phase 2, this is on Holt Boulevard, and this is another fully affordable housing development, 175 units, additional units as part of a second phase. And this is where the developers are using in lieu housing funds, state grants. These are not easy deals, but they're pushing it forward, and the council is in very much support of it. But I think one of the themes that we've heard today, and one of the items for all of us as far as a call to action goes, is when you look at some of these community responses, and the mayor mentioned it today, that we need to address the perception, and that the mayor has helped calm down some of the negative feedback. But these are social media posts taken whenever on one of the affordable housing developments. So just what we need, more bums. Yay, let's bring more crappy people to this crappy city. The city's a joke. Awesome. This city is, I won't even finish that, there's too many expletives. Affordable is a joke. The projects, the projects come to Ontario, lock your doors. So we've heard this is part of the show don't tell conversation, but these are the types of comments that neighbors are making. And as much as we are looking at legislative fixes, financial fixes, policy fixes, I really think a big part of the fix is reshaping the narrative. And it's really a PR campaign. The mayor said it very well when we're talking about workforce attainable housing. That could be it. But I think that we all have a part in this when we have these types of really nasty comments coming forward. But it's not just on affordable. These comments are coming up too when it comes to market rate housing. Again, demolish the apartments surrounding the area, polishing a turd, that's all you're doing. How many of the units are affordable? Okay, so we got like a couple thumbs up. None actually, because this is market rate. Why don't you quit building future high occupancy scum housing and build my expletive Grand Park? Sounds like a nice person. Why more expensive, useless, cheaply made housing? You can hear your neighbors taking a crap. And finally, it's also going to create a whole lot more traffic. It's already terrible. How about you don't build those houses? And I think whenever you read any of the articles up and down the state and you wonder, why do we have an affordable housing crisis? I think we all must look inward and say, maybe we're part of the problem. So with that, I think as I turn it over to my colleagues here, I think that the real call to action for all of this is not so much blaming the state, blaming the elected officials, blaming the cities, but really ask your neighbors, where do you want to have your kids live, just like the mayor said. And instead of saying just what we need, more bums, instead what we need is more housing for all. So I will conclude with that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think great, very comprehensive example of what's going on in Ontario. Thank you so much. I would just add one more thing. We need more housing because people, when they think about a rental car, how often do you clean the rental car when you return it, and treat like dog, whatever. But when you own a car, you take care of it, right? Same thing with communities. I feel that housing ownership is going to increase, wealth in the community. I allow more people to, as I was saying, go to college, they contribute better, and they have that ownership or that take agency to the community. So it's very important that we need to do a better job of communicating to our communities. Hey, affordable housing is not same old public housing. You can't hear me? No, you can't. Sorry about that. How about now? Yes. I'm not sure how much of you guys got it, but you got the gist of it. I was just gonna say, like, increasing homeownership is good for communities, right? In the sense, it'll allow us to people to take ownership of their communities, treat their communities better, increase wealth, increase college education, and a million other things that like you won't happen with the rental housing. That's what I'm getting to. Yeah, so let me talk about REMA homes, but a little clarification on my bio. Yes, I done all those businesses, but one business I want to talk more about. My father used to be a general contractor in India. They built bridges, oil and natural gas developments, and God knows what. When I came to the US, I came for a master's at the University of Southern California in computer science, and I didn't find the program to be challenging enough, and I said, okay, we'll do something else. And the same time as dot-com bust, 2001, and people are not getting jobs. Like, why am I borrowing $100,000 in a program that I don't like? And I went on an entrepreneurship journey. One of the first things I did was build a restaurant, and the restaurant took 2 years, and I went 51 times to Los Angeles building and safety. I had no idea, because in India, right, you don't have the same bureaucracy. Yes, maybe the quality is different, but it was a shock, a culture shock of the construction in this thing. And I said, never ever, I'm getting back to construction. Then long story short, I got married to a construction family, it happened to be, and my father-in-law has been doing construction for 45 years. He's one of the key civil engineers who built the Saudi Arabia airport in the late 70s and 80s, and he came to San Fernando Valley. I've been doing a lot of housing, so I got dragged back into housing against my will, I should say. So I've been always doing that, but like, around the COVID, I've realized is, you have Zoom, there's so much like innovation in so many industries, but if you look around, this building most likely would be the same, was the same 10, 20 years ago, it'll be the same another 50 years ago, but you have this thing called your cell phone, has billions of transistors, and in 10 years we have trillions of transistors. We have innovation everywhere, but not enough in construction. That kind of like, got me the idea, hey, we need to be doing better. Housing problem is huge. There's issue with like zoning, there's issue with like planning. We can't solve all that. But construction has 5 L's. I think an AHP economist was saying land, lots, labor, lumber, and litigation and a few other things. I feel that we can solve 4 of those, which is we can build with much lower labor. We're working. The home, we took it to Washington DC. We built in 10 days. And our current idea is to build it into 1 day. And it's not any model home like a movie set. It went to DC and came back and intact, right? That's the quality of home we're talking about. It can withstand fire. It's solar friendly in the sense like it doesn't need energy to operate, so it's great quality. So we're tackling the labor issue. It's built with steel and built very efficiently. In our next build, we want to cut down materials by 50%, so we're handling the lumber part. And there are a couple of lots, we cannot do anything about it, but lending is a huge thing we're working on. You see, not the problem with the traditional construction is very sequential. You get your entitlements, you do your site work, you start building, it takes forever. But the good thing about modular manufacturing is that you can do parallel, right? As when you're doing site work, you can actually also build in the factory. So by the time your site work is done, most likely your modular home is ready. So we're tackling, when a time construction loan rate is more than 10%, every day matters. So that's a huge advantage modular manufacturing brings to the table. Anyway, without going on a tangent, I'll just quickly run through my presentation. Yes, problem magnitude, somebody said there's as much as 3.5 million home shortage. So this is a huge problem. I think I'm preaching to the choir here, so I don't want to talk too much about it. It's a huge problem. And one of the things we don't talk about enough is the construction waste that happens. You go to any construction site, right, you see the skip bin. It's probably not there last week, it was a different skip bin. Construction waste is the second biggest contributor globally for landfill. We talk about like regulating straws. and that's like a 1,000th issue. Nobody talks about construction waste, drywall, lumber. A lot of these things are not recyclable. That's a huge problem. And in general, the built environment is the top CO2 contributor. We're all seeing the effects of global warming or climate change, whatever you call it. Built environment is the highest contributor, so that's a huge problem we need to tackle. So this problem is huge, but when it comes to construction, we feel the two main problems. One problem is we're using same old materials, right? These walls are most likely built with drywall and lumber. Lumber started being used in this country in the 17th century. Drywall was invented in 1894. Glass insulation was invented in 1897. Just imagine, we cannot solve the problem using same old materials. That's one issue. The second thing is, construction has the lowest productivity rate of any major industry in the world. If you look at semiconductors, 20% of the revenue goes back to R&D. That's why we're having this Moore's law where you have billions and trillions of transistors in chips. Construction is less than 1%. It's a big problem. Because of that, you have the lowest productivity of any other industry. So that's another problem that we're trying to tackle. And a lot of us think as just a tech company and we're trying to build innovation, but I feel that we need more innovation, not just in the technology, but construction welfare, right? Or worker welfare. If you look at a typical construction worker, working in hot sun or whatever extreme weather conditions, eating by the sidewalk, right? How many of us eat by the road? And then have climbing up and down, it's very physical intensive, crawling under, bending. It's usually one of the most difficult jobs. People don't appreciate construction job enough, I feel. And they don't have regular work. Every day it's a different job site, different timings. So because of this, construction industry is either the highest or second highest suicide rate of any major industry in the world. The people don't appreciate how bad the problem is. So our solution is, build in a factory in a climate controlled environment. You can drop your kids at school or pick up because you have a regular times. It's a huge issue we're solving. And it's very ergonomically friendly, right? You're not climbing up and down. You work on your table desk level, you installing solar panels, installing solar, you work on HVAC, whatever, it's always at your waist level. A big thing ergonomically we want to work on. And you have predictable location and less physical strain. This is our solution, and why I feel that and this is not just technology, but also we take a worker welfare seriously. One thing that's not talked about is construction workers have, the industry has the highest shortage of any major industry of workers. It's just not because of job market is tight, because the job sucks. Right? It sucks. Who wants to do all that in arts? And also has the lowest diversity. I think less than 3% of trades in construction industries are held by women. If you look at healthcare, 70%. Why is that? Because there's a cultural issue, but also people don't like the dirtiness. How many women want to use porta potty? To be honest, it's sad. So that's what we are fixing. How do we do advanced manufacturing? No drywall dust, no sawdust. It's clean like a Tesla automotive factory. That's what our solution is. So there's a lot of facets to our solution. One thing I want to touch upon a little bit is the wall. If you take a typical wall or floor, anything has about 6 layers. There's a drywall, there's a stucco on the outside, the lumber, moisture wrap, insulation, blah, blah, blah. I feel that these are way too many layers for a wall for the functions of fire retardation, insulation, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, we just decrease that to 2 layers. So the thinner, much more easy to fabricate and install, and have high performance. That's one of the key things we're working on. It's called Neo Wall. The second innovation we're working on is a fast fabrication. If you look at a Formula One racing world record, the world record for pit stop is, anybody know what's the world record for Formula One pit stop here? I know, random question, but love to see any Formula One fans. It's 1.82 seconds.
1.82 seconds, these guys could change 4 tires. And these are just not any tires, right? Go up to 250 miles per hour, pull multiple G-forces, and the tire holds, because the key is high performance, tight tolerance, and one lug nut. The same record in NASCAR is close to 10 seconds. How come Formula One can do 1.82 seconds and NASCAR only do 10 seconds? The key is engineering. That's what we want to do in home. Because if you look at any window or door, and it has random nails, random caulking, this is not modern fabrication. So our internal target is, can we beat Formula One world record, but in this context of installing a window or a panel or the entire roof? So that's what we're working on. So I won't bore you with too much of the technical thing, but we're completely rethinking materials, fabrication, way to manufacture. Just a couple of quick notes on construction. You guys know my bio. My co-founder Ryan Blowers was the senior project manager under Elon Musk. He was the head of the Dragon capsule for SpaceX for a couple of years. Dr. Datta was the only guy allowed by NASA to do space manufacturing at the International Space Station. We have Dr. Smeda. Dr. Smeda is very accomplished. He's the only guy that Elon Musk relied to make rockets reusable. So he's on our team, and but it's not all aerospace and semiconductors. We also have people from construction. Jerry McCarthy, he has a 40-year veteran of modular manufacturing, or modular construction, I should say, and a few others. That's a little bit about our team. By the way, if anybody is looking for a job, internship, advisory role, partners, would love to see. This is a huge thing we're taking. We would love to get all the feedback and help we can do this. Traction, yes, they say that overnight success takes decades to happen, so that's the story of us. Yes, we started in 2022, but we've been doing construction for a very long time. This concept came out to be early last year. We held a rebuild event with Mayor Garcetti's help last year to understand the problem. We won $3 million ultra competitive grant from California Energy Commission for building energy efficient homes. We got invited by the White House Housing and Community Divisions to showcase our zero carbon or net zero home on the National Mall. And we're currently working with various projects, US Air Force and US Space Force, on some of our same technology we also use for installing and reinstalling bases in foreign lands, blah, blah, blah. So that's a little bit about traction. Sorry if I ran through a little too fast, but I want to give some time to other panelists and take any questions later on.
Only happen in Bobby Land that all ladies are construction workers. Alright, so Bob, your turn.
Hi, I'm Bob Martin. I'm with Lewis Companies, and we're a local development company based here in Upland. And I guess the one thing I bring to the table is I had probably the shortest commute. I'm about 8 minutes away. And so I do live in Ontario, and so it's been a very good city. Thank you, Mayor Paul. Can you hear me? Is that better? Okay, here we go. Is that easier? Okay, here we go. No, this is fine. So we as Lewis, as a local developer, we build in California, Nevada, and we're a multi-discipline development company. And so we build both, I'll say, we buy, entitle, develop land for residential housing. We build apartments, shopping centers, and industrial buildings. So I'm going to be careful with the mic. The part of today is talking about affordable, and we've heard a lot about attainable housing, and touching on how do we increase supply. And so my role of the company is from a land acquisition perspective. So I'm on the front end and looking for new opportunities. We have a team in all of our different regions that are always pursuing new opportunities. And what I outlined here on this slide is what are, or where are, or what will be that new residential project. And so today we have to almost invent properties. And so, and inventing properties for new residential, because most of Southern California is developed. So we're looking at infill. Now Ontario has been very fortunate because we do have about 65 acres, 6,000 acres in New Model Colony and Ontario Ranch. So Ontario is very fortunate, and parts of Chino and other areas as we go further to the east. But as we go west, is that we're looking at these various pieces of property, whether it's vacant office buildings, retail centers that need to be repurposed. There's surplus school sites as demographics change in the markets. There's governmental properties, churches, golf courses, farms, orchards, and nurseries are some examples of how we're pursuing new pieces of property in order to, thank you, in order to create some of the housing. Now, I'm just going to touch real quick on why are we looking at these pieces of property is because there's a whole sector that we're really touching on outside of the true definition of affordable housing. It's really this missing middle, the attainable housing. What are we really trying to produce as an industry? And so this part here is where we, as this whole panel up here, city, as well as from a market rate side and an affordable perspective, need the audience here to really be there to help us and support us to, as we're going to council meetings, as we're going to planning commission meetings, as we're interfacing with local electeds and city leadership, is really talking about the importance of this missing middle to provide the attainable housing. And kind of ending with this picture, or these pictures here, show all sorts of housing types that are not just a traditional 7,500 foot lot, single story house, 2 or 3 car garage, nice driveway, nice front yard, big backyard with a pool. We're now designing these more dense communities, and they could be single family attached or detached. They could be single story, 2-story, 3-story. And this is the product, this is a type of product. And yes, this isn't the mid-rise and the high-rise building, but this is really where communities are going, where we're looking at changing densities within these more urban areas. So I just want to touch briefly on, from a land acquisition side, what's going to create new housing supply. It's going to be the repurposing of a lot of the infill properties as we go, I'll say, Ontario West.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, AREAA, for putting this together. She didn't get to go through all my bio, so I'll tell you a little bit more about me. I started off as an agent. Actually, before all that, I was an actor, and I was on a TV show, believe it or not. And at the same time, I was doing real estate, became a broker, and then started working with syndication. And then about 10 years in, a decade in, I joined NHS of LA County, and they are our affiliate in Los Angeles, and I was there for almost 11 years until recently. I just joined NPHS. And so I'm an MLO as well, so I understand from the transactional point of view to now the last decade plus I've been working on the nonprofit side as a CDFI lender. Just the how all of these sort of, and working with developers and innovative folks here that are looking at how do we build better housing, and not only better, more affordable, quicker, how do we scale this? And so it's been a pleasure for me. And AREAA has been, I was a partner with them when I was in LA and did speaking with them. This is the first time I get to participate here with this chapter. And so I appreciate the opportunity and just wanted to invite you all to get to know me after, and so that we can hopefully, build some relationships here. And so I'll get into what we do. Again, NPHS is a nonprofit affordable homeownership provider and community developer. And let's go back. So before we go too far though, I listed some terms on here. I'm sure you all know what they are, but we speak in acronyms occasionally, and I sometimes get the question, or maybe somebody may not even ask the question because they're embarrassed to ask. So there they are. I'm gonna go through them, but you can read those real quick. And so we're a story of three companies, right? We have our socioeconomic services that we provide, and I'll get into those briefly. We're a CDFI lender, a community development financial institution, which is just essentially a mission-driven, finance mechanism, credit facility. And then we're an affordable housing developer. And some of the things that we've been working on really overlap on things that we heard just a minute ago. So I don't have a lot of slides, so I'm going to kind of leave it on this slide and work through, because we have what we call a vertically integrated business model and framework that we operate. What that just means is that all of our programs and services complement and work together to help folks move from where they're at to where they want to be. And especially in our case, we're trying to create affordable homeownership opportunities. So what we've traditionally done in most of our affiliates, we're part of a national network called NeighborWorks of America. So there's 200 plus NHS types under the network nationwide. So if you're not from the area, look up your local NHS or NHS type as well, by the way. For that. So what we've traditionally tried to do is move folks via education. So we're a HUD certified counseling agency, and we help folks just build capacity, right? We help them, we don't do credit fixing or anything like that, but we teach folks how to fix. We let them know what is in their credit report, how they can improve their credit report. We help them budget. We let them know, what they need to do, create action plans for them to get on that path to homeownership. And that's extremely important. And if somebody's also already, let's say, an existing homeowner and facing foreclosure, we also provide counseling services to help them keep and maintain their home. Because we don't want to just put people into homes and say, we did it. It takes a lot more than that to have long-term sustainable homeownership. You really need the knowledge and resources to make that happen. And so we try to provide that through our education and counseling. And then once they've gotten through the counseling, or perhaps they come to us already prepared and maybe there's just a gap, meaning they can't afford to buy in their neighborhood. Then what we do as a CDFI lender is we attract dollars from the Treasury, from investments, from lenders, banks, right? And we put that back out to the folks who need it most. And so we're always creating programs and products and thinking about how do we back into this transaction, and a lot of that comes from you, right? From the folks who are on the ground, in the transactions, referring us your clients, and we're saying, hey, let's see how we can help. And so through the CDFI, we have all kinds of lending programs. A lot of folks come to us for the down payment assistance or closing costs. So we currently administer the California Association of Realtors, HAF program, which is the Affordable Housing Fund, and that is a $10,000 closing cost grant. And we do that statewide. And so I did see somebody from some boards here as well, so shout out to you. That was traditionally kind of worked along the board, and now CARS decided, let's work with some nonprofits and see how we can better serve our communities, and let's also leverage. So what's happened is with that money, we can leverage then with our Cal Home money, which we get from the state, and we can lend up to $100,000, for example, in down payment assistance. We can leverage these. So we can put all these different things together to bridge that gap that folks face when trying to purchase a home. So we've done that for a long time, and that's been typically the model, right? Is okay, how do we raise money to then get back to the community and bridge these gaps? And we haven't necessarily thought about the affordable. How do we build more affordably? How do we work now the inventory? And that was sort of forced upon us in the last few years, right? It is, we can throw all the money at the buyers we want, but we're just continuing to inflate if we're not building. And so housing development became key, and we've typically done it similar to what I did with the with the syndication, but on a mission-driven side, where we're acquiring existing property and fixing it, rehabbing it, and then selling it to first-time buyers for low to moderate income, right? 80% to 120% AMI. And so that's been the model, and we said, well, we need to have more inventory. So we started on this journey trying to develop, and we realized, oh man, this is tough and expensive because we're doing scattered site, single family, 1-to-1, right? We're not doing multifamily developments, they're not extremely dense, this is literally 1-to-1, and it's not scalable. So we ran into issues like, how do we really do this and not go under as an organization? So we actually looked to factory built homes. So and by the way, we also do small business lending. I saw that up on the screen. So really small part of what we do, but we're always looking to advance folks, again, set them on that economic path to success. So about a decade ago, we partnered with the city of Chino, and we did our first project using modular homes. So we used the modular product, and it was very successful. And we said, wow, we saved a bit of money on this development, because we compared that to what it would have looked like site built, and it was, some savings there. It was about 15%. So it wasn't substantial, but it was savings, right? And then it led us on the path, though, to look at these new innovative products. And then we partnered with the city of San Bernardino, and we built another 6, but this time using manufactured. So this is another type of product, not as expensive, and also not like a mobile home, your traditional mobile home. Folks really have this misconception of manufactured housing, and this is what we've been working on now, is trying to educate developers, educate the public and lenders on these products, and let them know, they've really advanced. They're not your grandparents' mobile home or manufactured home that you think of. These are extremely advanced, and now what we're using is what's called cross mod. And so they look like any other home. These are some of the homes that we built that have already been sold. And what we do is again, a lot of what he said I'm going to echo, because what happens is it mitigates our construction management. It mitigates the time that it takes. So if you're borrowing money, that's extremely important. Time is money. And it takes out a lot of the excess waste. These are more energy efficient products, and they look and they conform to the neighborhood. So they look just like any other home. You can't tell them apart from any other house, in that specific area. And it creates at least we're saving us 20 to 30% on development costs. So as he mentioned, we're doing the on-site development, right? And then simultaneously, the homes are being built in the factory. And then they're delivered on site, they're put on permanent foundations, and we have financing available. So we can offer down payment assistance to help them low income borrow. Another thing we've been doing to preserve affordability is putting them on community land trusts. So the organization will retain the land, put it in a trust, and that way it can maintain long-term affordability. So we don't have to over-subsidize over a long period of time, and this is something that we're trying to show municipalities this model, because a lot of times they'll get federal funds or funding from the state, either home or CDBG, that they put into either affordable development projects or actual programs. And so we end up just subsidize the individual. And whereas if we can subsidize one time and retain that affordability for 100 years, I think that's a better model, right? Because then we can utilize the other funding for more projects, to do the same. And so this is kind of, will stretch that out a bit more. And so we've been working with municipalities, typically administering like down payment assistance programs or home rehab, but we've also worked on these development projects, and it's been extremely important for us, because this is where we source our land from. Where typically these won't work if we're going out to market and buying at market rate. We're gonna have to leave so much in the deal that it almost makes it, ridiculous. And so we don't want to do that, but we source underutilized land and land that nobody wants to touch, and we'll say we'll do it. And we put homes on there, and we put families back into those homes, and it's been working beautifully. We recently launched what we call Homes by MPHS. It's our social enterprise, and so we were sourcing these from folks like him, other factories, Champion Homes, and we have a few factories that now we became a dealer, so we're still sourcing from those, but on a different level, and now we can sell to others. And then what we've done is we've realized, hey, there's not just single family here. there's accessory dwelling units. So there's a lot of people looking for affordable ways to build an accessory dwelling unit. And the laws and the legislation and the environment is right for the development, but the cost is still out of reach for a lot of families. So for us, this is an opportunity for families to be able to access this product and be able to build it. And also, same thing, it mitigates the construction. They're not going to have a bunch of people on site for 3 months doing all this work. It's going to get cut down to a minimum because all the construction, most of the construction is being done in a factory, and they're coming and delivering that. But even then, we still found that they're not affordable, right? And so we've gone now a next step, and we've created, through our CDFI credit facility, an investment opportunity for lenders to participate in a pilot for a secondary mortgage product, specifically to low-income borrowers, right, who want to build an ADU and use a factory-built home. So we're just getting started, and we'll see how this pilot goes. Hopefully this can work and it can get scaled. We're also simultaneously, again, working on an agency MBS, meaning, can we get Freddie, Fannie to support this and have a secondary market for some of these products? And I'll leave it there. I have a lot more to say, but if you want to talk, we'll have a booth in the back where we can talk a bit more.
That's perfect. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
So I hope you guys enjoy, each one of the panelists' resources and sharing. So obviously, we as a realtor and also lenders, right, we know what the challenge is in terms of lending to construction. But at the same time, as a realtor, what we can also do, right, we should go back to our local market, source for those nonprofit that provide all these trainings to first-time home buyer and get all these financing information that you needed in order to help people to get into homes. But at the same time, participate with your local public hearing when there are affordable housing program in your local market. Go there and listen and support the way it's supposed to be, right? We are the voice of our community. If we say nothing, nothing will happen, right? That's been the mission, and that's been what AREAA is all about, right? So we should participate, and at the same time, in your local market, find some innovation. Who are the people that are so innovative, just like Ramsey's doing, right? Bring in some new way of constructions and how we will be able to protect our next generation and save the environment. We have to work together. Nobody can do this alone, right? And also, we love our city council, we love our city government, but then the thing is, we have to be there and voice out an honest opinion. If you don't vote, nothing will change. Isn't that right? Make sure you register to vote, and make sure you vote in the officers that will be able to help us really make a change in our community. So I'm hoping every single one of you here, wearing a different crown, wearing a different hat of your job, you have the capability of making a little change in your local market. You're not anyone that is just sit there and make a living. You can make a change. So I really thank you, the panelists. I really have 2 more questions for you guys, but because of time, I can't. But we can continue our conversation. We can continue to work together. And thank you so much for supporting AREAA. And thank you for your presence today. Thank you. All right. I'm going to introduce the next most loved person in AREAA. Her name is, she has a long title. She is from Freddie Mac, and her title is Affordable Lending Manager. Who can tell me who the person is? Monica LaCruz.
Hello everyone. I risked it today and I wore white and I haven't gotten anything on it. But Liz reminded me it is after Labor Day now. But I saw Amy wearing white, so I'm okay. So I'm honored to be with you guys today. My name is Monica LaCruz. I'm an affordable lending manager at Freddie Mac. And I'm part of our real estate professional outreach team. So what I do is I educate real estate professionals about our products, tools, and resources. At Freddie Mac, our mission is to promote liquidity, stability, affordability, and equality in housing. We're dedicated to stabilizing communities and expanding credit responsibly and supporting affordable rental housing. We support the industry through our All for Home approach, and we focus on 4 key pillars: our insights, education, mortgage products, and our business solutions. Through our insights, we highlight research studies, thought leadership, and our data to position our clients and our partners for success. We host events and trainings to provide tools and resources to professionals to help educate buyers about responsible and sustainable homeownership. We understand that buyers today and in the future have unique needs that require both innovative products and informed advisors to guide them. Our products are designed to offer more opportunities for first-time home buyers, the diverse population, as well as low to moderate income buyers. It takes a broad set of solutions and people from across the entire housing ecosystem to solve for industry challenges today. We're leading the charge by developing forward-thinking services, tools, and solutions to expand access and enhance opportunities. By partnering with AREAA on this white paper and the event today, Freddie Mac recognizes that there is a growing need to address the challenges for first-time home buyers and those in our underserved communities. We're committed to work with the industry to provide solutions. Saving for a down payment is one of the largest barriers to homeownership, and many first-time home buyers still think they need 20% down in order to purchase. But with our products, Home Possible and Home One, it allows buyers to put as little as 3% down and allows for many different types of down payment assistance to be paired with that. Gifts, grants can be included to come up with that 3%. We also understand that their lack of inventory continues to be a challenge, and that research shows that 80% of US homes are about 20 years old and about 40% are 50 years old. We've introduced choice renovation a few years ago as a solution to address the aged housing stock that we see. And it's designed for buyers looking for a convenient and cost savings way to finance their home purchase and the renovation costs into a single closing transaction. Choice renovation is also a solution addressing the growing threat of climate change, right? We see a lot of hurricanes and fires, especially here in California, a lot of flooding happening lately. And choice renovation allows for a product to be repaired from a natural disaster and also allows to pay for resilient upgrades to the home. We also know that reducing home utility costs put families in a better financial situation and helps preserve home affordability over time. So through our Green Choice Mortgage, we're committed to financing the renovation of energy efficiency homes, helping more families maintain home affordability over time. Freddie Mac also understands the importance of financial and home buyer education. We understand a prepared buyer is the best type of buyer to work with, and so we have our Credit Smart curriculum where we offer free in-language material. Credit Smart is a financial education that teaches consumers how to prepare for home ownership. It teaches them how to save, as well as if they're looking to even rent a home included in that. Credit Smart is a tool that everyone can use. I encourage you guys to look up more about Credit Smart. We're also committed to addressing disparities in home ownership and increasing generational wealth building for our communities of color. Our equitable financing plan includes an ambitious set of initiatives designed to help advance home equity, affordability, and sustainability for our communities and families in traditional underserved communities. I want to thank you and AREAA again for coming and participating on this important topic, and I look forward to working with everyone to increase home ownership for all of our communities. I don't know who's next, so I did not get that memo. Carmen Chan.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Well, it's past, we're almost towards the end of the program, but I'm honored to introduce the next speaker. But before that, I would like for all of you to stand up and say to your neighbor, it is a great AREAA Day today in Ontario. everybody sit down. You have some time to network afterwards, but I wanted you to have this great energy for the next two speakers that we're gonna have. It is an honor to introduce you to Frederick Griffer, who currently serves as the Deputy Director of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's Santa Ana Homeownership Center, which oversees 4. This is a long list of states: Alaska, Arizona, California, Hawaii, Idaho, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington, as well as the Pacific Islands of the Americas, Samoa, Guam, and the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas. After finishing grad school in California, he moved to Washington, D.C. to work for the federal government at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, working on grants policy, the Environmental Protection Agency as the team leader for recipients oversight before moving to HUD agency, where he served as the Director of Grants Management and Director of Field Operations for the Office of Native American Programs. In 2019, he and his family decided to move back home to California to serve as the Deputy Director of Santa Ana Homeownership Center. Thank you for your busy time. Let's welcome with a round of applause to Frederick Griffer. Frederick, I looked you up in LinkedIn, and it has a LinkedIn from Nicaragua. We have something in common. I don't know why your name was there.
I might have been hacked and I just found out. Thank you very much for that introduction, and it's a real privilege to be here. First off, I'd like to thank the mayor for informing me about Ontario Mill. Next time I'll definitely bring my wife and hopefully earn some points in the process, so I appreciate that. As was mentioned, I came to California. Well, I grew up in California. I grew up in San Jose, went to San Jose State, Go Spartans. So happy about that, and I believe Jennifer, our previous panelist, also went to San Jose State, so we'll talk about that, but what we won't talk about are the first 2 games of the college football season. That's a very sore subject for me at this time, but it's a real privilege to be here, especially on the 20th anniversary of the Asian Real Estate Association of America. And so part of my role, and there are 4 home ownership centers across the country: Denver, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and Santa Ana. And as was mentioned, we cover the Western United States, but I admit, having grown up in California, the fact that I currently live in Orange County, this place is my home. And for me, something that I'm very passionate about is increasing home ownership across the country, and affordable home ownership, and giving people the opportunity to be able to, and a lot of, historically speaking, so with FHA, we've been around since 1934, the Federal Housing Administration. So we've actually been around longer than the Department of Housing and Urban Development itself. So when it comes to home ownership opportunities, for almost 90 years, we've been, for a lot of people, either the last opportunity or the only opportunity to get into home ownership. And when you think of home ownership, it is a absolute generational game changer when it comes to being able to build equity, being able to potentially pass down something to future generations, and at the same time, also being able to have predictability when it comes to your monthly payment, rather than having rent skyrocket over the course of 30 years. You have a pretty good idea of what your monthly payment will be over time. So we're really seeing the housing crisis and seeing what's currently going on with the state of the market. We have been a consistent mainstay, and it's a privilege, having recently been promoted to director of the Home Ownership Center, It's definitely a privilege to be able to work and represent this region. And as part of the vision that I have for the Home Ownership Center is not just a lot of these events, but a lot of trainings, lender trainings, a lot of roundtables to engage with realtors, lenders, nonprofits, potential home buyers, and community leaders, so that not only do we educate, but also for us to become educated on what some of the pressing issues are, what we can do to assist and advocate with working in partnership with AREAA and working in partnership with other organizations and community leaders to be able to advocate, to be able to provide you with resources and information that you need that hopefully gets more people into homes of their own. So one of the things that I wanted to do, and I just have one slide, but it's a very important slide, so hopefully we can bring that up. But it's basically like a top 10 list of characteristics when it comes to the FHA program. So, thank you. There are 10 different characteristics that a lot of people might not know about, but we want to make sure that everyone in this room is aware, and I'll expand on them. The first is the lower minimum FICO score requirement. So FHA will insure loans with a minimum decision FICO score as low as 500. A decision score of 580 will allow a minimum down payment of just 3.5%, but between 500 and 579, that will require a 10% down payment. Fun fact that at times no FICO score is required. So in fact, FHA doesn't require borrowers to have a FICO score. Transactions where none of the borrowers have a FICO score may still be eligible for an FHA mortgage, but borrowers will work with their lender to build non-traditional credit reports using RIN verifications, utilities, or any other payments that would be made on a regular basis to help develop the borrower's willingness to pay their obligations in a timely manner. Additionally, gifts can contribute to up to 100% of the down payment, closing as well as prepaid costs. So FHA allows gifts from eligible donors for 100% of the down payment, closing and prepaid costs. But what that means is that a borrower can purchase a home with zero of their own personal funds. As conventional loans, they require a minimum investment directly from the borrowers and funds when qualifying for a smaller down payment. But with FHA, the gifts could come from members of the family or close family friends as well. And allowing that gift of equity from family as well as friends, and that's something that means that a family member could sell a property to another family member and gift them the down payment from the owner's equity. Also, there's subordinate financing is allowed. So, subordinate financing is the use of two or more mortgages to finance the purchase of real estate. FHA allows the use of subordinate financing and is compatible with many of the down payment assistance programs offered by government entities as well as nonprofit organizations. For example, Cal HFA has told us that approximately 60% of the first mortgages that use their down payment assistance program are from FHA insured loans. And actually a little bit of statistics on FHA in San Bernardino County is we actually account for approximately 21% of the total forward mortgages. And just in 2021, the most recent statistics that we have verified, we insured 6,345 FHA mortgages, and the Santa Ana Home Ownership Center specifically endorsed over 177,000 loans in the last fiscal year. Also, all FHA forward mortgages are fully assumable. So, assuming borrowers credit qualify, under the right circumstances, a qualified borrower could assume potentially a 3% fixed rate mortgage today. So if the FHA, if the person who purchased an FHA property when interest rates were very low, like at 3%, if they sell to an FHA borrower, that FHA borrower could assume that 3% interest rate mortgage. And just thinking about interest rates in the 7s and potentially 8s, that's a significant savings. Also, we have a disaster recovery program. If your home or your ability to make your mortgage payment was harmed by an event that became a presidentially declared disaster, that you might be able to qualify for relief to help, then homeowners keep their home. Much of the mortgage industry and the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development are committed to assisting borrowers whose lives and livelihoods were thrown into turmoil by disasters. If the homeowner cannot pay their mortgage because of the disaster, the lender might be able to help out. And if you're at risk of losing your home because of the disaster, your lender may stop or delay the initiation of a foreclosure for up to 90 days. Lenders may also waive late fees for borrowers who've become delinquent on their loans as a result of the disaster. And for those that have a conventional mortgage instead of an FHA program, they're strongly encouraged as well to contact their lender for further information on our program and to see if they're eligible for relief. So for example, the 203H program is designed specifically to help people who've lost their homes in presidentially declared disaster areas. And it allows for 100% financing and has qualifying flexibilities as well. Borrowers can purchase anywhere in the country, and they don't even have to own the home that they lost. The only caveat is that the buyer must apply for the program within a year of the date that the disaster was declared by the President of the United States. Additionally, we have rehabilitation programs as well. The FHA has a program to rehab and remodel existing homes, and these include structural, non-structural changes, and energy efficient programs including solar and wind technologies. Our office reviewed a loan once and it reviewed a few loans that were like this, a significant amount actually, where a borrower purchased a one-unit dwelling. Politely, it wasn't in good condition. The borrower got a 203K rehab mortgage, raised the one unit to the foundation, and put up 4 units in its place. The borrower is likely using the rents from the other 3 units to make the mortgage payment. Additionally, we have reverse mortgages for seniors. So the reverse mortgage from the federal government, and it constitutes like 98% of all reverse mortgages, is called the home equity conversion mortgage. And it's a reverse mortgage for seniors who want to purchase or refinance their homes. Reverse mortgages are increasingly popular with seniors. Eligibility is being 62 years age and above. And it's popular with seniors who have equity in their homes and want to remain in their home or supplement their income. The only reverse mortgage insured by the federal government is the HECM, for another acronym, and it's only available through FHA-approved lender. The HECM is FHA's reverse mortgage program that enables you to withdraw a portion of your home's equity to use for home maintenance, repairs, or just general living expenses. HECM borrowers may reside in their homes indefinitely as long as the property taxes and homeowners insurance are kept current. So being able to give seniors the opportunity to be able to live in the home that they've been in for many years is something that's very important for us, rather than having to downsize or having to leave their home. And so it's a priority, it's a passion for not just myself, having members of my family who have benefited from the program, but others, the stories that you hear of, sometimes these seniors have built their homes, and being able to have the opportunity to stay in your home and using the equity that you've put into it to stay in that home is something that's very significant. It's not a program for everyone, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for those that are interested in it. Also, we have a loss mitigation for FHA borrowers, and that's the last point. FHA wants to keep borrowers in their home whenever possible. There are various loss mitigation options, including a recently added 40-year loan modification. In the past year, myself and my office have visited all 8 states within our jurisdiction. And it's been my vision not just to visit a state as part of a check-the-box exercise, but actually go there and be a recurring presence in the communities, not just the big cities, but smaller cities as well, and towns, rural areas, not just urban. It's important for us to build a relationship, to create trust, and build on that trust. Having come from DC, in my last position being the Director of Field Operations for HUD's Office of Native American Programs, I understand stakeholders that are skeptical of the government, and at the same time, how it's important to have not just virtual, but also in-person contact to build that trust and to come together to be able to brainstorm, come up with ideas on how we could improve our communities, improve opportunities for home ownership. And for me, this is a passion of my life. I spent the last 13 years in DC, and I know that we have multiple members of Congress here, so I'm not going to say anything bad about DC. But for me, in terms of the insights that you get when you go out of DC and you engage with people and you meet people where they are, and you hear the struggles, but you also hear the successes, the best practices. That's something for me that I love. And this is a position I just started as the director. I plan on being in for decades and working on building and cultivating those relationships. And again, it's just, I'd like to thank again AREAA for this opportunity to be able to speak. I'd like to thank all of you for participating in this event. I look forward to engaging with you. I encourage you all to sign up on FHA.gov to get on our email list for participation in future events. I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to hearing your stories. I look forward to being able to hopefully work with you to help either you or people that you work with to be able to get into their first home. There's nothing, to me, more satisfying than hearing stories of people being able to get into their home, to build their equity, and I can't wait to be able to collaborate with you all on that journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I know that we are waiting for Judy Chu. She is unfortunately stuck in traffic. So we're all kind of rolling with the punches. Thank you very much. But we did want to show you that video from the City of Ontario because there are so many things that are exciting that are happening, and they have been such great hosts for us to have this symposium. So we wanted to show that video.
Everything we do as a city is done to build upon a truth we all believe in, a vision that is reflected in our businesses and neighborhoods, an ideal we recommit ourselves to every day and never take for granted. To make Ontario the premier community of the Inland Empire, today, tomorrow, and for years to come.
The secret to our success has been we have had the ability to manage this city professionally. We do it honest and right.
Whether it's downtown revitalization, year-round community events, the development of the Grand Park and Ontario Ranch, supporting our business community, or continuing to improve our infrastructure, we've seen Ontario grow and thrive this year, and we're only getting better. The City of Ontario has continued to support and invest in quality family events and programs. Last year, we broke ground on the Ontario Grand Park. This 340-acre expanse will be a focal point for the region and serve as the City of Ontario's premier recreational space with beautiful trails, an amphitheater, a playground, and a world-class farm hub.
A lot of parks are great, but a great park is even more grand.
Things that bring community, they bring fun, they bring nature. That'll be really a nice amenity for the Ontario Range area.
Community open houses, like the ones Ontario Fire and Police Departments hosted this year, brought thousands of residents together to get to know our city's first responders. From the summer concert series, to movies in the park, to our Independence Day celebrations, Holiday Light Parade, and Ontario 5K Reindeer Run, our Recreation and Community Services Department continues to keep Ontario fun for the whole family. The City of Ontario Library produces hundreds of community programs throughout the year. And the annual Ontario Festival of the Arts had over 50 artists, live music, and food vendors. And with over 36 tons of trash and debris, 6 tons of green waste, 3 tons of metal, and over 1.5 tons of shredded documents collected during the spring community cleanup days, there's no denying that community spirit is alive in Ontario. Ontario is committed to providing diverse housing. The Vineyards development by G.H. Palmer will add 925 market-rate units on 22 acres north of the I-10 early this year. Legacy Partners' acquisition of a former Kmart site at South Euclid Avenue and West Walnut Street will transform an underutilized commercial center into 300 new apartments. And we can't forget Ontario Ranch, which has been voted the nation's 5th top-selling master plan community with no signs of slowing.
I think it's popular because we're offering the kind of community people want to live in. Folks are moving to our community, they're buying these houses, they're taking advantage of the opportunities that we have for quality of life kinds of issues, where they know that the city cares about them.
The city's collaboration with private partners will make extensive downtown revitalization possible, including new housing communities such as the C and D block development projects, which in total will bring in 258 new housing units and more than 12,000 square feet of commercial space. In addition to Tipping Development's 26 new townhomes. More affordable units are also on the way. The city has entered into partnerships with National Core and related companies of California. This will add a second phase to the Vista Verde and Emporia Place apartments, bringing an additional 227 affordable units when completed.
These are built for families to be able to obtain and have a life that is not only livable but lovable.
This will capitalize on the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority's West Valley Connector, a major transit corridor running through Holt Boulevard that will connect downtown Ontario with major amenities such as the airport, Ontario AREAA, Ontario Mills, and the Rancho Cucamonga Metrolink. And all that with plenty more room to grow.
You're probably thinking at this time, how do I join this great organization, AREAA? All you have to do is go to area.org, join now, have the drop-down menu, pick the chapter that is in your region, and sign up. We do have a raffle that we are giving out a iPad. And can I have Vincent Ma, our chair for the Affordable Housing Task Force, actually picked the winner. So big car. Very therapeutic. All right. Jessica Chung. Oh! For those of you in the future, you do want to go with the big car. Congratulations. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, I wanted to thank our Inland Empire chapter. You know, when we were deciding where to have this event, they really fought to have it here in Ontario. And when you just saw the video on all the exciting things that are happening in this community, you know, I know a lot of you considered, you know, Orange County, LA County, San Diego County to be far, but, you know, in the near future, this will not be that far anymore. And there's a lot of exciting reasons to consider this as a community. So thank you very much for the Inland Empire chapter for doing this. There's so much of the planning that went on to make this happen. The City of Ontario allowed us to use this space as well. There's hotels in the area that helped us as well to bring this together. So again, we want to thank the Inland Empire chapter and the City of Ontario to make this happen. And I believe we're still waiting for Judy. Oh, she's here. Oh, there you go. All right. On her way. Oh, okay. So I guess I have to continue talking. All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So, yes. So we do have our 20-year anniversary national convention. It is in the great city of Chicago. Yeah. We actually have Liz Goodchild, our past Chicago chapter president here, and she is being recognized by Chicago Association of Realtors for being an industry leader for her work last year. So Liz, if you please stand up. So anyways, Chicago actually ends up, oh sorry, continue to stand. Chicago actually is my hometown. For those that, I actually grew up in a small town just outside of Chicago. And it was in a time where, let's say, we didn't have as much diversity as we do now. There was only one Asian family, there was only one black family, only one Hispanic family. It's hard to believe that in today's, but it was really that community that really embraced us over time, that made that house a home for us. And it was part of being that community that really made it special. And I think, you know, home ownership, yes, it's a way to decrease the gap, wealth gap in America, but it's also about the American dream. And when you're a part of the community, you really get to enjoy that. That's what AREAA is all about. So thank you very much. Okay, at this time, I'd like to introduce Judy Chu. If you can come to the stage, we'd love to hear from you. Oh, sorry. I'm not that great at winging it.
If you can't tell, I'm not Judy Chu. I'm Ivan Choi. So thank you, Kurt, President Kurt, Nishimura. So Amy Kong mentioned that she was the lockdown pandemic AREAA president. I'm what's known as the AREAA old and crusty president. Because my time was a long time ago. I've been involved with AREAA for 19 out of 20, it's 20 years. So I'm thrilled to be here. I cannot believe you're all here in Ontario, because there's a lot of people not from this area, they're from other parts of the country, and yet we're all here because of everything that's happening and the way life is going. And thank you again to the IE chapter. So another reason why I'm thrilled, but I totally blew it, because Judy Chu actually called me a couple weeks ago, and I told her, oh, we got this event covered, it's fine. So hopefully that was not the cause of you being late, my misinformation. But Congresswoman Chu is not only near and dear to tons of people in America, but near and dear to me because I am in Pasadena and she represents my district. So Congresswoman Judy Chu, elected to the U.S. House of Representatives all the way back in July 2009. And she covers not only Pasadena, but the entire San Gabriel Valley. For anybody that keeps up with national politics, she does a lot of things. I mean, we could go on all day, but she serves on the House Ways and Means Committee. So if you follow politics, that is one of the most powerful committees. And she also serves on the House Small Business Committee, which has oversight of the Small Business Administration. So I'll leave it at that. Like I said, there's tons of things to say about her, but in the interest of time, please welcome the great Judy Chu.
Well, hello, AREAA! It is so wonderful to be with all of you. And yeah, I had all these stacked up bunch of events today, but finally I am here. And it is, yes, it's so great to be here with all of you, and AREAA President Kurt Nishimura and CEO and Executive Director Hope Atual. And thank you for having me at your Affordable Housing Symposium luncheon. As the leading voice for Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander housing and real estate professionals, and now we call that AANHPI, you have played such an instrumental role in strengthening home ownership opportunities for so many here in Southern California and nationwide. AREAA has been such a steadfast champion of giving more AANHPIs the opportunity to own a home, to provide guidance, and help clients gain access to resources that work best for them. Your symposium today is so important because you have the opportunity here to learn directly from affordable housing developers and other real estate professionals to grow your expertise on connecting your clients to affordable, accessible, and high-quality housing and homes. For so many, home ownership is the key to achieving the American dream. But for far too many, the dream is out of reach. Disparities in home ownership have continued, with AANHPIs less likely to own their homes than white Americans with similar incomes. We have a role to play to reduce those disparities and to make sure that everybody can have the opportunities that they certainly deserve. So as an elected official in Washington, D.C., I'm working hard to break those barriers to home ownership and home access. Now, I chair the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, or what we call CAPAC. So I work with my colleagues on Capitol Hill to meet the needs of millions of Asian American, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders across the nation by creating accessible, affordable, and equitable opportunities for housing and home ownership. Now, we have special needs and special issues. With over 50 racial subpopulations speaking over 100 languages, our entire AANHPI community is full of diverse stories and experiences. That's why data collection and reporting on race and ethnicity by the U.S. Census Bureau and other federal agencies is so important. But when they do such things like put us under the other category, it completely obscures our lived experiences and unique needs. Can you imagine? You're looking for statistics and research on how AANHPIs and all the different subgroups experience housing disparities, but you can't find it because it's under this gigantic category called other. So, thank you, AREAA, for having a no more other campaign than no other campaign. And of course, KPAC supported you, my caucus supported you greatly, and we pushed the Census Bureau to create a distinct category for AANHPI home ownership in its quarterly reports. And so, with this change, lawmakers have been able to better tailor policy to help more AANHPIs and other underserved groups to pursue their version of the American dream. And then there's another issue, and that is language access. Of course, it's very key to be able to achieve equity in affordable housing. And that's why it was so important for us to have a preferred language question on the uniform residential loan application process. And yes, because of your efforts and in combination with us in KPAC, so with KPAC, AREAA, and many other community organizations, we were able to get the Federal Housing Agency, Finance Agency to add this question, but then the Trump administration took it off and we had to fight for it to be back on. We did fight for it, and now it is back on. That language preference category is still now on the universal loan application. So this is so fantastic. But our work is far from over. One of the focuses of today's symposium is supply. The housing shortage in our communities and throughout the country persists. When there isn't enough supply of housing and demand increases, we see prices consistently rise and access to homes and home ownership becomes more and more out of reach. That is particularly true for AANHPIs who disproportionately feel the effects of housing shortages. So that is why one of my priorities in Congress is increasing the local supply of affordable housing in the San Gabriel Valley, where 1/3 of the population is indeed AANHPI. But this affects, of course, everybody in that area. So for the previous 2 years federal appropriations process, which fills in the gaps for new housing developments and especially affordable housing, we were able to direct funds to this. And there is now housing trusts that have started to pop up. In fact, we have a San Gabriel Valley Housing Trust, which has project-ready kind of developments for affordable housing, and they have a whole series of them, but they needed the funds to be able to implement them. So I was able to get $7 million allocated from Washington, D.C. for our San Gabriel Valley Housing Trust, and already we've seen the results. For instance, in 2023, we immediately saw 60 affordable housing units for families in Claremont, and I expect to see many, many more come up. But I also want to make sure that we are able to use our federal government to create more affordable housing. This morning, I went to the unveiling of a project which included many units for low-income housing and extremely low-income housing. And they were able to do this because of the LIHTC program, the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program. Now, I'm a member of the Ways and Means Committee, which has jurisdiction over tax policy, and I know that this particular tax credit really works. It's one of the most impactful federal tools to increase housing supply. And I know that it is something that builders want to take advantage of, but some builders find it too onerous and the requirements to be too great. And yet we have people eager to build such units. So we have a bipartisan Affordable Housing Credit Improvement Act. It will greatly increase the number of available LIHTC credits or low-income housing tax credits. And as a result, there can be many, many more of them built. And in fact, the developers this morning told me that had they not gotten that tax credit, they would not have been able to have the low-income units, but especially the extremely low-income units that they were able to build in there. And with this bill, if we are able to increase the number of available LIHTC credits, lower barriers for projects in states like California to qualify, then we can unlock 2 million new affordable homes. We also have the Biden and Harris administration taking a proactive approach to reducing barriers to homeownership and housing. They have a housing supply action plan. The plan promotes new supplies by incentivizing localities to allow for more housing construction, especially in areas with great accessibility to public transit. And the plan also allows for more financing opportunities for accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, which not only increase the supply of housing, but also provides new income streams for homeowners. I'm also a proponent on having project-based vouchers. Now, one thing that has made housing affordable is having Section 8 housing vouchers. But we don't have enough of them, so we need to increase those amounts. But we also need to have more places where people can actually utilize those vouchers. So project-based vouchers would have the projects themselves, those housing complex, have the Section 8 vouchers come with them. And then it would make it much more easy for those seeking housing to actually get it. Now, these are fantastic programs, but we must be vigilant to ensure that they and all federal housing resources are available to all our communities, and that means our AAA and HPI communities in particular. So I want to talk about a very, very alarming situation that is happening across this country, and that is the proliferation of legislation and laws that seek to restrict land ownership for Chinese immigrant communities and other immigrant communities across various states and Congress. Can you imagine, in Florida, an elderly Chinese national with all proper documentation, legal in this country and everything, cannot even buy a condo to live out the rest of their senior years? Yes, that's because of a law that they just passed in Florida to stop Chinese nationals from being able to buy property. And can you imagine that a real estate agent, like many of yourselves in this room, would actually have to check a home buyer's immigration papers before selling a house to them? That's what you have to do in Florida now. They actually are the alien land laws that were here in the early part of the last century, and they represent a return to failed racist laws that have not been in effect in 100 years. These discriminatory laws are appearing across the country and were signed into law in Florida, Alabama, and Louisiana. It's a result of this heightened, hyperbolic fear about the US-China relationship, and as a result, they are making Chinese Americans the victims. We cannot let this happen, but we can fight back. In Texas, Asian American lawmakers, community leaders, and everyday residents joined together to raise the alarm about a similar law proposed there that would have banned actually all Chinese citizens from owning property in the state, even immigrants who live here in the United States and have been here for a long time. Even in the face of the Texas governor saying he wanted this law passed, they were able to stop it from being passed into law by rallying, by marching, by contacting every legislator. Yeah. The risk still remains actually in Texas for it to come back, but it is clear that what the legislators respond to is the protests from their own constituents. And the louder the protests the greater the possibility for stopping such terrible laws. And of course, I'm doing everything I can on the federal side with a federal solution to block these discriminatory bills from being enforced. That's why Congressmember Al Green of Texas and I introduced a bill to prohibit any such state laws from taking place, because no one should be prevented from getting a fair shot at building their lives here in America because of their country of origin or immigration status. And I want to thank you because AREAA immediately came on in strong support of this bill. Yes. People should not be prohibited from being able to buy property based on their ethnic background. That is not American. And so we really have to stop this right at the heart of it. Let's make sure that such laws do not proliferate across this country. So it's clear, representation matters. Most importantly, as AAA and HPIs in the housing and real estate industry who understand the unique issues and needs that our communities face, your voice matters. So let's do everything that we can to increase the affordable housing supply, promote accessibility, and build equity for our children, elders, and family. Thank you again, AREAA, for inviting me here today. Thank you for your tireless work for HPIs all across the nation. Thanks, and I look forward to our strong partnership together now and forever.
Judy Chu, thank you so much for your leadership. You know, it's rare for someone in the AAPI community to seek public office, and we need more people like Judy Chu to help us fight against this discriminated language that we're finding in a lot of the state bills. So thank you so much for your leadership, and hopefully we'll see other people in the AAPI community actually seek public office so we can have even more impact for our communities. At this time, it's my great honor actually to introduce to you the 2012 chair, national chair of AREAA, and also the emeritus chairperson for AREAA. Has always been a great leader for us, and really the reason why I joined AREAA, because he was in Paradise Valley, Arizona at a country club speaking, and I saw 100 women kind of wooing him, and I was like, wow, I've never seen an Asian guy be a leading man. And I'm like, I gotta get to know this guy. So it's my pleasure to introduce Jim Park.
Wow, you know what? I've never had that introduction. For that, and Congresswoman Judy Chu, we've been friends a long, long time. You've been a partner with us for many, many years. And there is no one who's championed our issue, partnered with AREAA like you have. So thank you so much for many, many years of support. I would also point this out, which is I think there's 21 members of Congress of AAPI descent, right? Of AAPI in Congress. It's like a little less than 4% of Congress, I think, is made up of people of Asian descent. We're 6, almost getting to 7% now. So we need to at least double the number in Congress. We need more representation. It's important. Sometimes we think, hey, let's go to work, let's run our business, let's sell more real estate, and things kind of takes care of themselves. And we know that it doesn't. Politics and policies really matter. And the work, having someone like a Congresswoman Judy Chu in Congress is so important to ensuring that we are fully represented and that our issues are heard, and issues that are very important to us get taken care of. So we're a nonpartisan, bipartisan, or whatever. Nonpartisan, bipartisan, whatever. We don't take sides, bottom line. But I think what I would encourage all of you to do is support Congresswoman Chu or other members within KPAX who have supported the Asian American issues. And whether you go out and vote whether you provide some financial support, whatever it is that you want to do, I would encourage you to be active in that regard. So anyway, thank you once again. And let's see, I'm doing a panel now, right? Is that what I'm doing? Kurt? By the way, Kurt, they script me and I just screw it up every time. So Kurt, also I want to thank you for bringing us here today, because Kurt, he had a lot of great ideas when he first, like most presidents that come in, great ideas. But this is one that he just kind of kept just pushing and pushing and pushing and saying, we have to talk about this issue. Because if you look at AREAA and AREAA's history, right? So when we first started AREAA, 2003, homeownership rate for the Asian American community was like around 52%, 53%, something in that range. In 1995, it was below 50%, it was like 49%. So think about that. Who was around in 1995? Who was around then? Okay, the other half are too young to remember. So we were below 50%. When AREAA started 20 years ago, we were 52%. Today, we're not going to take all the credit for it. Congressman Judy Chu can take some credit for this as well, which is our homeownership rate right now, 20 years later, is 62%. Right? That is something to celebrate, given the fact that we were the fastest growing community at that time. That is that our denominator was rapidly increasing, and homeownership rate was going up even faster, which tells you that we have this amazing appetite for homeownership, being a part of this society, this community. And so I'm proud of the work all of you do, because I think that 62% wouldn't have happened with all of you in this room. So thanks again for making that happen for all of us. Okay, I have people I have to introduce. I know two of them. Alex, I'm going to start with you because I don't really know you. And but he's very important. It's Alex Weinberg is a graduate student fellow at the Housing Lab, an affiliate of Turner Center for Housing Innovation at UC Berkeley. I love UC Berkeley because all my kids went there, so that's a good thing. And Alex is currently pursuing his MBA at the Haas School, where he is studying real estate and finance with emphasis on socially responsible urban development and innovative solutions to housing crisis. His experience includes underwriting and analysis of affordable housing preservation transaction and many, many other things. We're excited to have you be a part of this conversation here. So come on up. Okay, I have this amazing bio for Monica LaCrue, but I'm gonna say this. Monica LaCrue, I hired her from I hired her from my company years and years ago, a long, long time ago. And then she's like, I'm done with you, Jim. I'm just gonna go work at AREAA. So as you know, like we really elevated our events and conferences and all that. Monica was responsible for that way back.
I think I ordered these table skirts.
We're still reusing it. We're being environmentally friendly and continue to reuse that. But Monica, I'm so proud of her because I've seen her progress, I don't know how many years now, many, many years. Now she's an affordable lending manager at Freddie Mac, and she's just doing an amazing job representing not only Freddie Mac, but the issues that's so important to all of us. So, Monica, happy to have you here.
Honored to be here.
She's hard to introduce her as Freddie Mac. I'm going to say AREAA first. AREAA's first.
Always.
Okay, this guy has more energy than anyone I know. Vincent Ha. And, you know, and I'm like, I'm not gonna say how old he is, but he's like, I'm not gonna say, when you said he's old, I'm not gonna say that. But he runs around like a 20-year-old, and he's this amazing human being. He brings so much energy into what he does. And he has been really super passionate about the whole policy issues. He's been doing stuff on the ground in Seattle, but he's been in the lending business for many, many years. Also was very active with the chapter continues to be very active with the chapter up in Seattle. So anyway, come on up, Vincent, Mr. Energy. All right. also see, you know what? I also see Alan Chong. Hi, Alan. How are you? It was Alan is the. There's a lot of people who made. So this year, I don't know how many of you know that we've been around 20 years? Because I said it earlier, so everyone should raise their hand. We're around for 20 years, right? And I'm like actually Lena. Lena was one of the early ones in the AREAA's growth. Alan was Lena. Alan was one of the people who really made a big influence in this organization as well. One of the early chairperson, but also helped start AREAA Foundation, AREAA Global, and continues to be very, very active. And there's one person here who probably works more hours for AREAA for free than anyone, is Carmen Chong. So Carmen, I don't even know if she has a job anymore. She just does AREAA stuff. I don't even know what she does. But, well, I'm gonna go down. I'm just going through, if I don't recognize you, I'm sorry. I'm Troy. I was the most popular AREAA chair ever in history, based on some polling that he did. And I thought I saw Jim Wong. Actually, Jim Wong and Vincent actually compete for who has the most energy, right? So, is there any other past presidents? I just got in, so. Anyone else? Oh, Amy, where's Amy? I didn't see the Chanel bag. Oh, there she is. Amy is, she's the heart and soul of this organization, so thank you, Amy. And all of you who have been part of this organization for so many years, thank you. Okay, I'm happy to that now. I'm actually gonna go to you a little bit and talk a little bit about affordable housing, kind of the state of the industry and everything else. As you know, housing supply has been an issue for many, many years. 2000, the early mid-2000s, we overbuilt. Obviously, that led to part of the collapse. Now, since then, we have been continuously underbuilding for, 13 plus years now, right? Maybe even longer. 15 plus years. You'll probably correct me, right, Alex, on this thing. So in places like California, Ontario used to be like the affordable place, like where you can come to build. It's even kind of expensive here, right? Who lives in Ontario? Anyone? No one lives in, just one person lives in Ontario? Everyone came in just for this? Wow, okay. Okay, well, we need more than one person from Ontario next time, by the way. But this was the affordable place. Now, we're running out of affordable places to build in this country. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what innovations are taking place from the builder side, finance side, and all of that to make that happen. And who do we have to convince to make that happen overall? Alex, let me just start with you, because I think many people probably don't know much about Turner Center. Everyone knows about Berkeley, California, but very few folks know about Turner Center for Housing Lab. Tell us a little bit about what you guys do. I know one of my old colleagues, Carol Galante, I think, is she still leading it?
Yes, she is.
Okay, Carol's leading it. She was an FHA commissioner years ago. And so tell us a little bit about what you guys do and what you focus on.
Sure thing. Well, first of all, just thank you for having me. I feel like I'm among celebrities right now, so it's very nice to be here. And I flew in from Oakland this morning, so I'm happy I made the trip. So the Turner Center is a research center that's affiliated with the University of California, Berkeley. Go Bears. And the Turner Center's mission is it's a housing-focused research center. Our mission is to advance bold ideas that have the potential to transformationally change the housing market, whether it's housing supply or access or fairness in that market. And so it's really policy research, and we measure our success in terms of how that's actually implemented in the field. But I personally am not a policy wonk. I'm actually with the Housing Lab, which is a part of the Turner Center that our goal is to incubate and accelerate early stage ventures, whether they're for-profit or nonprofit companies that are trying to innovate in the housing space and have the potential to really make that transformational change. So we help them grow and scale through funding, through connections to our network, and through a grant program. And we're focused on sort of putting forth those companies that have, we think, the potential to not only increase affordability and supply in the housing market, but also fairness and equity, and we can talk some more about that. I just want to say that California is obviously, as we talked about a little bit today, sort of the epicenter of the affordable housing crisis, but we also see it as the epicenter of innovation and a place where a lot of solutions can come from. I think that's a really important lens as well.
Just follow on that question of the work at the housing lab. What I'm sure you see a lot of interesting stuff that come through, right? Ideas. What do you see? What seems promising to you in terms of some of the, you don't have to name companies, or if you want to, you can. A couple of ideas that's been out there that has been interesting from your vantage point.
Well, I think one of the most exciting opportunities, and frankly hasn't been totally cracked yet, is how innovation can sort of intersect with the policy advancements that have been made recently. So we talked a little bit today about the ADU bill that allows people to build ADUs, but there's also been SB 9 is a bill that allows upzoning and a sort of gentle density, as it's called. And there's been all kinds of other bills coming out of Sacramento that have sort of opened up the zoning and development landscape in a number of ways, but we actually haven't seen a lot of that come to fruition in terms of new housing being built. And so we're seeing a lot of models try to unlock the potential that's been potentially unlocked by our legislation.
Which city does it best in terms of affordable housing? Like, just to put you on the spot. And who does it worse?
I might need to punt on this question because I don't know if I have a great answer for it, but
who does it worse? How about start with that?
Well, the Bay Area where I'm from is pretty darn bad as it relates to
so I'm gonna get to that a little bit, because you think Bay Area, very progressive, right? Progressive politics, all of that. But why do we have such an issue getting zoning laws passed? Why do we keep getting issues around neighbors not wanting the NIMBY syndrome, all that stuff? Why is that?
If I had the answer, we wouldn't maybe have such a bad affordable housing crisis, but I think it comes back to a lot of what we were talking about earlier with the sort of stigma that's been attached to affordability. And the Bay Area is one of the worst perpetrators of this NIMBYism that stifles a lot of development, but I think it's about sort of shifting the policy, or not the policy, but the on-the-ground conversation, and making building about, we all want communities that are thriving and that are vibrant and that welcome neighbors and that continue to be livable and affordable. But I think sometimes that gets removed from what needs to happen.
Okay, so officially, Housing Lab,
yes.
Turner Center says the Bay Area is the worst affordable housing. No. So let's
I'm gonna get in trouble with my house.
Does that include Berkeley? Because you'll get kicked out of the city.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift to Vincent. Vincent, you work with locals, talk about zoning and local issues, local politics, resident politics, and all that stuff. You work with a lot of folks on the ground. What do you see? Are you seeing any movement for people being a little bit more acceptable about affordable housing? Or city council being more acceptable? I mean, what's happening on the ground from your vantage point?
So first off, for those who may not know, NIMBYism is not in my neighborhood. So all of you guys are familiar with the people that make the comments on the Facebook posts or what have you. Hey, why are you gonna bring all these poor people into our neighborhood? Crime is suddenly gonna be rampant, right? Just because you have higher density or just because you have people with lower median income doesn't necessarily mean they're all criminal. So part of the battle is trying to convince people that it can be, that's why we call it about gentle density, so that the battlefront is to not just pass the laws, but also to get the communities to be able to accept it. And that battle is maybe even bigger than, because there's legislators who know this and want to do something about it, but the second they see the word affordable, they get attacked, and then they can't get reelected. So that's the reason why a lot of the politicians, if you hear now, they're calling it workforce housing, to allow your teachers, your firemen, your policemen, your teachers to be able to live in the communities where they work. So that was part of being able to sell the public on being able to do it. What we did at Seattle-King County Realtors Association when I was on the zoning task force was we started with a small group and we said, okay, here's some solutions that we can use, here's some things that we can do, but how do we get this from plan A to plan B? How do we make this actually work? So we started doing the meetings, and we brought in, back then it was Zoom because of the pandemic, but we got some of the city planners and some of the elected officials to come in so they could hear what we were talking about, and then we would have them speak about what they were doing. And then as that grew, we grew and we grew and we grew, and we did exactly what we're doing here today. And I encourage all of you to go back to your chapters and do these kinds of meetings, because as we did that over and over again, when we finally did our missing middle housing tour to go see what these developments are, because in the mind's eye, people can't envision, and they just think, oh, you're gonna uglify our neighborhood, and you're gonna make you're gonna make all the housing values drop. We showed them why that it's possible to make beautiful housing and actually to make it digestible. And we took them on a bus tour, and by the time we were finished, we had 100 elected officials that came on that bus tour. And they came out and they saw it. We started 1, 2, 3, and we just kept doing it over and over again. At the end, we had over 100 officials, and now the laws that are being passed to allow ADUs and to allow multifamily so people can have supplemental income to be able to afford those houses, talk about that bus tour on their laws. So that's how this actually can translate into that.
Well, that's a great story. By the way, how do you have 100 lawmakers? Is that too much? Too many
Well, city
lawmakers?
planners too, so.
Okay. So obviously you have to get the support of local officials.
Yes.
And the local officials are a reflection of their voters, right? So you got to get the mindset changed, and hopefully changing the name helps a little bit, but you can't trick them completely, right? You can't say, workforce housing, and they go, oh, okay, I'm good with that, not affordable housing.
Or missing middle.
Or missing middle, or whatever. So we obviously change the language a little bit. That's gonna help a tiny bit, but you gotta get the people to feel what it's like not having people in the middle, right? Not the workforce, the teachers and people. You're paying $8 for a Starbucks now because you have to pay people more, right? So hopefully that message gets across. Obviously, the other part of affordable housing development that is important is the workforce, like labor force that build housing, construction costs, right? Lumber, whatever else that costs to build housing. It's a little bit out of our hands, right? Unless you're going to go up to Canada. Anyone from Canada here? Will you plant more trees? Obviously, we need more lumber, maybe other technologies to build housing. But the other part of it is financing. And this is where Monica's going to give us the answer. So you're not on the side from Freddie Mac. You're not out there building housing. You're not, you're not chopping down trees or whatever, as far as I know. You're helping to facilitate financing so that people build, right? Both multifamily, single family. What kind of innovations have you guys been looking at to support affordable housing developments and growth?
Yeah, well, I think it really starts with education. I think when we started working on this task force and whatnot, the programs are out there. I think there's a lack of education when it comes around our Home Possible and Home One mortgages, 3% down. And our renovation, I said in my remarks earlier, renovation lending is offering opportunities for people to renovate their homes with a purchase and renovations in a single closing transaction, right? So solving some of that aged housing stock that you see, right? You see that listing, and it's ideal for investors, right? Because they're going to come in and flip it, right? And then they're going to sell it or rent it out. But there's opportunities out there for you as a real estate professional to look into renovation lending as a way to create a first-time home buyer, right? There's a lot of stigma around, oh, I want the perfect kitchen, and it only has 1 bathroom, I want 2. Renovation is a way for that first-time home buyer to get the home that they've always wanted in the neighborhood that they want to live in, right? Also working with underserved communities, diverse communities, right? And location is very important to them, right? They want to be close to families, they want to be close to good schools, they want to be close to work. And so if they find a neighborhood they really want to live in, renovating a home that's in that neighborhood, it might be a great option for them. So I think kind of changing that mindset and educating more professionals about these programs and products that are out there is really what we can do now. I mean, I think innovation and advances in construction are great. I think we continue to put time and effort in those. But if you're working with someone now and they want to purchase now, I think looking into alternative ways to finance it is really what's going to hopefully make a difference soon. Talk a lot about ADUs. Last year, Freddie Mac did change their guide policy to allow for more ADUs on 2 to 3 unit properties. And it's not only just providing, I think Judy Chu mentioned it, another additional home, right? Maybe your family members are gonna come in, or maybe you're gonna rent it out to someone, and now that's creating revenue for you, but you can be part of the solution when it comes to affordable rental housing, right? Now you're a landlord, and you can make a difference in that. I live in San Diego State. I dropped a friend off, and she lives close to that neighborhood. Everyone is building all of these ADUs to rent them out to students that are obviously going to San Diego State. It's interesting to think about because what she was sharing, how much they're going for as rent was just extreme. And I think that, affordable housing isn't just affecting first-time home buyers now, but it's going to have a ripple effect, in my opinion, on what could be, these first-time college attendees now. They can't live in San Diego because the rent is too expensive, and so they might opt out of going to college because they can't afford to live. And so affordable rentals, affordable housing is not just affecting first-time home buyers, it's gonna affect the entire community, and I think educating more people, our politicians included, will hopefully, continue to provide more solutions to that.
That's great, Monica. Talking about the entire community, sometimes we, the folks that don't have the voice, right? The underrepresented, underserved communities that we care so much about. Like from your side, Alex, from your side of Turner Center Housing Labs, how do you engage the underrepresented, underserved communities in a way that reflects, sometimes like we sit around and we go, okay, come up with a bunch of solutions and ideas, and we don't actually talk to the real customers, right? So how do you make sure that happens?
That's a great question. At the organization-wide level, I think one of the most important things we do is just maintain our vast network of people who are out in the field doing the work, and that's part of why I'm here today, and it's really a pleasure to be here. When we go through our application process every year to welcome the next cohort of ventures that will join the housing lab, we rely on all of our vast network to be sort of the eyes and ears on the ground of what's going on and what the problems are that require solutions from innovative companies and nonprofits. But when we think about the actual, at the level of the company or the nonprofit, how do we make sure that we're bringing in the voice of the community to make sure that the people who are intended to be served by these products or services actually are at the end of the day? That's essentially the most important thing that we look for in our evaluation processes. Are the companies including the experiences, the lived experiences of the people they're intending to serve in the design of their products or services? And I'll just give you, one example of a company called True Footage. They develop a really interesting high-tech solution for appraisals that makes appraisals a lot faster and more accurate. They're using things like laser technology, and I'm sure many people here are familiar with the sort of huge problem with bias in appraisals. And so this is a company that's founded by people who experienced marginalization and discrimination in the home buying process, and then went out and built a product to sort of tackle that. So, without question, our most successful ventures are those that are designed by the people who experience firsthand what they're ultimately designing for at the end of the day.
So you talked about underserved, underrepresented community. Monica, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, GSCs have a duty to serve. We're supposed to help, some target lower income individuals, underrepresented communities and all that. What do you do to support that from a housing development point of view?
Well, I'd being here, I think is one a part of the step, right? Educating real estate professionals like yourselves about the products that we provide to be able to serve those communities. You guys are the boots on the ground, right? You are the ones out there working with consumers to make sure that they are getting a great home and continuing to build home ownership. And so I think it's partnering with organizations, not just like AREAA, but NAREP and NAREB and the LGBTQ+ Real Estate Alliance, VA rep, making sure that they have the tools and resources that we provide, that you guys are getting access to those, to make sure that you have what you need to be able to serve the community. We also launched a few years ago our equitable housing team, and so they are now actively at work continuing to develop more opportunities, products, resources, and tools that are going to continue to hopefully go into those historically underserved communities and dismantle some of that systematic discrimination that we've seen to continue to provide solutions. So the work's not done. I think also too, you guys talking with a lot of buyers and consumers, you want change to happen so fast like lightning. It's coming. And I think that signing up for the latest and greatest from us is really what's going to help, or coming to more events like this is really what's going to continue the conversation on what we're doing to continue to address all the challenges that our underserved communities are facing right now. I think AREAA has been a champion for in-language material. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac partner with FHFA. There's a clearinghouse of translated documents that I feel are probably underutilized. And so I encourage you guys to reach out and use those resources. This is going to be the biggest purchase that a lot of people are going to be making their entire lives. And to be able to do it in a language that they understand is, I think, understated on what that value could bring to them. So I encourage you guys to use those resources to make sure that your community is getting access to them.
All right. Monica, you always make me happy when you talk, because I got to see her when she was in her early 20s. She was out of college too. Now, like, she's a rock star in the business. So thank you for that. So finally, Vincent, you've been a big champion of this. You led this committee, Affordable Housing Committee within AREAA. If you had the magic wand and said, hey, I would like this group to do this one thing, what would you want them to do?
So first off, I'm going to answer that question, but before I do, I just want to thank everybody on the Affordable Housing Task Force that helped plan this event. When Kurt Nishimura came to me and said he wanted to put this thing together, we had to choose a site. And when we said Ontario, National, I hope I don't throw anyone under the bus, National said Ontario? You guys are absolutely amazing. I know not only people coming from all over the country to help support this, even from LA, it's almost like coming from a different country driving here through traffic. Really amazing. Thank you everybody for coming. But I want to do a quick shout out to everybody on the task force. For Jordan, for Penny Wade, for Dan King, for Monica LaCruz, Garrick Yan, Troy Teal, Liz Goodman, of course our president, Kurt Nishimura, our founder, John Wong, and of course the support from National. This wouldn't be possible without Hope, and Vanessa and Jordan doing all the hard work and Sorry to hijack the question. Let me get back to the question. What was the question again?
It's done. It's done. We're out of time now, so you'll have to come up with a magic wand next year.
There's a couple things that you can do as real estate professionals, as lenders, as real estate practitioners in this room. How many of you guys have had multiple offers and looked at the offers and said, oh no, here's a VA loan. Maybe this one's not as good, or this one has down payment assistance. Maybe this one's not as good as this rich person that could pay cash or put 50% down but wants to tear down the house and build something to make another $1 million, right? If we want to do this, we have to be the champions out there and give chances for people to have home ownership. For that veteran who serves the country, he deserves a chance to be able to have a home and that American dream for his family. For that teacher, for that person who's coming out of, his first home, who's been saving for years and working on his credit. We are the people that are making that decision to help those people. Don't just think about the easy dollars and you have another development option. Think about those people and how your family benefited from somebody who gave them a chance. My family. I don't know if anybody, if all of you know my story, but my father was a very successful businessman in Hong Kong. He had his own company, he had servants, he had cars, he had properties, he had everything, he had his own company. During World War II, he decided to be the ambulance driver to save lives on the front line, and he became the chaplain. And so it was a very practical way to help people. He would drive over there if he saw a bomb explode, try to save them, and if he couldn't, he could read the last rites for them. So that's what my father did. And he decided this is what he wanted to do for a living. So he became a pastor and he started planting churches. When you plant churches, those churches don't have a lot of money. So he raised a family of $7 on $50 a month. The people in the church, of course, always helped us, and they gave us food, even if it was food stamps, even if it was hand-me-down clothes. We always had clothes, we always had food. Every Christmas, everybody remembered the Hawkins, and we got the most gifts that you could imagine. But the one thing that he was smart enough to do was he bought a home. And back then, $2,000 was a lot of money. But he couldn't afford to make the payments. So what he did was, he bought a home that had a second unit. And this is why I encourage you guys to do this, to advocate for it, because of that, he was able to house our family. And our family of 7 was able to be able to have a roof over our head. And eventually he did that over and over and over again until Mom was able to retire. And those homes that we ended up owning eventually gave her the passive income to be able to retire. It works, guys. This is why we're advocating for ADUs. This is why we're advocating for multifamily. This is why we advocate for the American dream. You have to talk to your lawmakers. You have to do these kinds of meetings so they can hear it, so they can understand. So when they see the word ADU and DADU, they know what it is and what they're voting for. So it's not the first time they've ever heard it. Keep fighting the fight. You guys are changing lives through real estate. If it wasn't for real estate, I wouldn't be standing here today. And if it wasn't for real estate, our children and our children's children won't have that opportunity for the American dream. We have to keep fighting. What we do matters. It's not just about a commission. We change lives through real estate, and that's why AREAA, and that's why what you guys do is so important.
All right, that was talk about passion, right? Talk about passion. And it's, I think, for a lot of us, right, this is all personal too, right? The work that we do is personal. So it's not just, I tell some people, it's like, this is not just transactional, right? This is transformational. We're trying to transform communities and change people's lives, right? That's when it's really powerful. So, well, thank you for those amazing words. And I do want to, I forgot to recognize Jamie early on. Is she here? Where's Jamie? Oh, she's working, she's closing a deal. All right, I do also want to do this real quick because I know a lot of folks travel a long ways and all that. Thank you all for coming here, being a part of this discussion. But it needs to be more than, to your point, it needs to be more than a discussion. We need to go back and do something about it. I do want to also, because we are celebrating our 20 years this year, our conference is coming up in a few months in Chicago. I also want to recognize people who have served. Oh, the Chicago contingent, yes. I want to recognize all the people who made AREAA what it is today. Hey, Jamie. So I want to recognize all the people who made AREAA what it is today. So all those individuals who have served as chapter presidents, can you just stand up real quick? What about anyone who's served on a national committee? Could you stand? Anyone serves on the national committee? Local board? Local board? All right. So for those of you who didn't stand, there's an opportunity to stand up, right? Raise your hand and be counted. And because we're always looking for people as part of this movement, the journey continues. We have some really amazing successes, but a lot more needs to get done, not only on the affordable housing side, the stuff that Judy Chu talked about, and I know Kurt's very passionate about, the discriminatory action by other states. 33 states actually worked on legislation to prohibit Chinese, people from Iran, I don't know how many North Koreans are here because my family's from North Korea, but that was like before the war. So that, some couple of North Koreans, right, and people from Russia, I think, are the primary targets, but there are other communities are being targeted depending on the state. That is un-American. Right? It actually violates our civil rights, it violates our housing rights. There are a lot of laws that these actions are violating, but it doesn't seem to matter because these politicians continue to pass it, continue to work on it, because they're trying to make a political point, right? So we're more about changing lives, not political points. So I hope all of you stand up against these things, and with that, I think Kurt, you're up next, or who's up?
I'm just making closing remarks.
Well, I think Vincent Ha actually delivered your closing remarks. So, well, let's thank the panel member for an outstanding conversation. And Kurt, come on up.
You know, I can't say anything better than what Vincent said. You know, when I first had the vision for the Affordable Housing Symposium and the white paper, I couldn't think of a better person than Vincent, who was our past policy chair. And I know it's his personal passion, I know it's his father's passion to make that happen. So thank you very much, Vincent, for making that happen, making this a reality for AREAA. And so, you know, where do we go from here? I guess that's a question. You know, talking is great, but action is better. We've made this program to bring all the parties together so we can have a discussion on how to move the needle when it comes to supply and affordability. But we really need to take action. And I really want to point out to our Portland chapter that actually got a grant and is actually building a housing affordable plan. It is rental for a 10-year period, and then we'll migrate into actual home ownership. But during that time, it's in an AAPI community, and they're actually helping the people work on their credit and to be able to become future homeowners. So, you know, again, talking is great, but walking the walk is so much more impactful. And I love the fact that AREAA is doing something in this important space. You know, I do want to mention that I'm so happy that you're here, but it's also very important to me that you get home safely. We are going to have boxed lunches and some refreshments after, but please drink responsibly because we do want to make sure you make it home safely so you can come to our national convention on October 12th through 14th in Chicago. So thank you very much. Appreciate you.